lower it down a little bit. Easy. Stop. Okay, so basically what you just saw there is we rigged a large limb that was going out over a backyard hole. There wasn't room or space to just drop it. There was obstacles in the backyard that we were trying to protect. So from the ground, I just used my throw line to set a nice high rigging point above that limb and then secure the rigging line to the end of the limb. All of it was done with the throw line from the ground, and then I tied off the butt end where I'd be cutting so that I could control it, and tied that off while I cut it. My ground guy was holding the rigging line at the end of the limb. I was responsible for the rigging line at the butt end, and together we just lowered it down slowly and controlled. In some cases, where you have a long or large limb that you can't just drop whole or you can't just free fall to pieces. Yeah, you can limb walk all the way out there and take individual pieces, but sometimes what I like to do is use two rigging lines and just take it whole. Sometimes that might mean, say, swinging it away from a roof, or you balance it. So you have one rigging line usually towards the butt end where you're going to be cutting, one rigging line out towards the end of the limb, and cut it, balance it. And then the advantage of using two rigging lines is you can simultaneously lower it and raise or lower individual sides. So for instance, let's say you have the, hold on a second. Let's say this is a limb that you have out over a roof, right? So you have a rigging line here, a rigging line here. The advantage of having two is we cut it, it's balanced, and then we can simultaneously raise one side, lower another, raise one, raise another, lower, etc., and then lower it into a smaller space. So in a lot of situations, if I have to do some rigging, I'll consider whether just taking the limb whole or taking a really large piece would work versus trying to take a bunch of individual smaller pieces. And just something to keep in mind about taking smaller pieces is, let's say, yeah, you can limb walk out to take smaller pieces, but depending what is underneath you, there may not be enough room to swing down smaller pieces. So in that case, taking a larger piece and balancing it, and either swinging the whole thing away, or as I mentioned earlier, simultaneously lifting one end low, dropping the other to then fit the limb almost vertical down into a smaller space might be better. Or, obviously think of tip tying. So you tie the tip of the limb and then kind of lift it up like that. The purpose of using the second line near the butt end would simply be for more control, so that the butt end doesn't swing away from you or whatnot. Because sometimes you might have a little bit of wiggle room per se, where you can afford for the branch to swing a little bit. Other times it's really technical and you need to have absolute control over everything. No sudden movements or unnecessary swinging of the limb. And sometimes it might be hard to get out towards the end of the limb or whatever to set the line. Use your throw line. There's been quite a few times that I've had a limb in that situation where, I need to get a rigging line out towards the end to take it whole, and I'll set a rigging line right from the ground with the throw line, or even get up on the roof and set the rigging line. So there's so many different things you can do. There's so many different ways of doing the same thing with the same goal. Really, you got to find what is the most efficient for you and your capabilities and what you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with something, then it might not be a good idea. If you prefer to take smaller pieces, then that's perfectly fine. But I just wanted to share this video and talk a little bit about this. Hope you guys found it helpful and enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.